Hello and welcome to FitPros Live. You are in store for an educational and engaging session. Your instructor is live and able to answer questions that you drop in the chat. And we encourage you to respectfully interact with one another. Check your company's well-being portal for more live sessions this week. We are a community of wellness warriors. Now let's slay the day.
Hello and welcome to your FitPros presentation. Today we're going to be discussing the role of energy in mental health, i.e. burnout. And I am your facilitator, Dr. Teneka G. Miles, and this is a little bit about me. I'm an advocate for healthy relationships. I'm an educator, counselor, as well as speaker, and I'm a mental emotional wellness consultant for corporate organizations. So a few objectives for our presentation today is that we're going to address key concepts related to mental fatigue. We're also going to demonstrate an understanding of multiple dimensions and stages of mental fatigue. And we're going to gain insight into our own self-care practices and demonstrate an understanding of how to create and implement a self-care plan. So mental fatigue, i.e. burnout. What exactly is that? We all may have experienced burnout from some time to another, but it's when we feel overwhelmed and emotionally drained. And the caveat to that is we're unable to keep up with life's demands. So we can have this fatigue, being emotionally overwhelmed, but some people can experience that and yet keep up with life demands. But when we're talking about burnout, it's where you cannot keep up with life demands at all. Some common causes of burnout or mental fatigue is a lack of control, unclear expectations, dysfunctional workplace dynamics, extremes of activity, a lack of social support, work-life imbalance. Now, these are some warning signs that if you see our little character here, this is in the morning time, she has her cup of coffee and yet she just feels like she cannot get going. That is definitely a sign of burnout. So some other signs to kind of consider is you have become cynical or critical at work. And so if you're pessimistic and not optimistic and you're finding things wrong with everything that you see, it's probably a sign of burnout. You drag yourself to work and have trouble getting started. So this is our lady here. She's just like, people say, I haven't had my coffee yet, but she has coffee and even coffee is not working for her. You become irritable or impatient with your coworkers, customers, or clients. You lack the energy to be consistently productive. So, hey, maybe Monday or Tuesday, you are, kind of being effective in efficiency, but throughout the rest of the week, you kind of just fizzle out. So you're lacking that consistency. And also you find it hard to concentrate. So those are some signs of being burnt out, but these are personalities that are prone to mental fatigue or burnout. Perfectionists. So how many of us struggle with a strong desire for perfection? If you set excessively high standards for yourself, you're going to be at risk for burnout. The constant drive to meet unrealistic expectations, fear of making mistakes. Also, this can lead to stress and exhaustion. But if you are a perfectionist, if any of these kind of categorize you, these are some strategies that will benefit you. Focus on the positives. So usually when we're perfectionists, any little thing that's not in place, that's not 100%, we tend to focus on that. But for a strategy, focus on the positive. Also, allow yourself to make mistakes, right? That's not looking at that small little error and it just kind of ruining the whole project, which is 99% perfect, right? So also set reasonable goals. Learn how to receive criticism. And also lower the pressure you put on yourself. There's one thing for our supervisors or superiors to put pressure, but then there's another thing when we apply that pressure to ourselves as well. Another personality would be the empathetic individual. So this is usually the individual that not only have to deal with their emotions, but they're constantly absorbing or internalizing others' emotions as well. Some strategies to address that would be to be aware of boundaries. Know where you end and another person begins. Normally, we are so integrated with others and their problems that it starts to overwhelm. And this is when that mental fatigue starts and we enter into that stage of burnout. Some strategies to address that would be, again, we talked about boundaries, but also be careful what you plug into and what's plugged into you. If you're that individual that everybody runs to at work when there's something going on, they don't like something the boss said, you want to be careful with that. Be solution focused, solution oriented if you are an empathetic individual. Also have appropriate outlets for yourself. What are the things that provide meaning for you, provide support for you, that energize you versus everything zapping the energy out of you? Also, take time to regroup. This is very important because we can tend to just take everything in, but we don't pause to regroup. The next type of individual are workaholics. So this is where you have the excessive and compulsive need to work long hours and you prioritize work above all other areas in your life. This will definitely lead to burnout. Also, neglecting self-care, leisure activities, and personal relationships also will cause stress and exhaustion. So these are some strategies. If you feel that you're struggling with being a workaholic, take time for rest. Actually schedule in your time of rest. We'll feel like, I don't have time. Well, schedule it in. If you schedule it in, you will make the time for it. Also, find meaning in other areas of your life. Your meaning cannot just be at work, which is here. This last point is separate your worth from your work. A lot of times when we're a workaholic, it's because we find value in our work. Sometimes that's the only thing that we may be good at. But when we start to explore other areas, we can start to find worth and value and meaning in the other areas of our life. Okay. So here are some ABCs of self-care. This is how we start to develop the self-care plan as we're moving forward and we're integrating work and life, or we're having a work-life balance. So A is awareness, B is balance, and C is for commitment. Awareness is only just speaking of pulling yourself away, unplugging for everything, getting into a quiet space from all of the busyness of life and getting into a space of solitude so that you can have time to reflect. When we have time to reflect, we'll be able to develop an awareness of our own needs. Sometimes we are aware of what we have to do at work. We're aware of our family. We're aware of everything that's going on around us, but it is only in that quiet time of solitude can we even begin to understand what we need and develop that awareness for our own needs. So A is for awareness. B is for balance. So even when you begin to have an awareness of what you need, you have to learn to now embrace that what you need, get some of those activities, but also relinquish some activities, relinquish some behaviors or attitudes like being a workaholic, being too overly empathetic. Some of those things we have to begin to release. That is going to create that balance for us. You want to give attention to not just, again, our work environment, but our physical health, our emotional health, our psychological, spiritual, and the social aspects of our life. So that, again, we're not just one-sided, top heavy on this side, right? It's not just about this one area of our life, but it's learning to balance all areas of life. And C is for connection. This is so vital. Even when you are aware and you have balance, sometimes we're not properly connected into those areas of our life. It's like, okay, check, I got a massage, check, I went out with friends, check. But it's really about being connected in meaningful ways. So start thinking about how do you do that? How well do you do that? Because what that connection is going to do is going to help you grow and thrive in ways that you would not if you're not connected. And these groups can be your friendships, your families, your social group, nature, recreational activities, your spiritual practices, even therapy would be ways for you to start connecting so that this engagement is the type of engagement that help you thrive and grow. So I want to leave you with 5 focus areas to keep in mind as you are avoiding burnout in your work life. 1, manage your time and set limits, learning to say no. This goes into the B section of the ABC, is that balance. To get balance, sometimes we have to learn to say no. So for instance, like Teneka, you can't go and hang out with your friends all night if you know you have a 7 o'clock meeting that you have to make. So that's a way that we have to prioritize and set limits and manage our time. Unplug as often as you can. It is so important that goes to the A, that awareness. The only way for us to become self-aware is to unplug from all of the distractions that is so easy for us to have. 3, take a vacation. If you have vacation time, I know people that they'll take a day here, 2 days here, maybe a week, but they never take all of their vacation time. And they basically pride themselves on, oh, I have so much vacation time. Take a vacation, enjoy, take in some sun, walk some trails, take a vacation time. It will do so much for you, and it'll refresh you and restore you and really have you ready to come back to work and actually be more productive than what you can even imagine. Also, talk to others about your stress levels. Lean on that support system. So that C portion where it talked about connection, that is your support system. Share with them. I always say it's so important when we are able to share the load, that you're not always the person that's taking on so much, but when you talk to others and you share about that, you'd be surprised how people can maybe give you advice or suggestions that may have worked for them. And last, resolve to take better care of yourself. Get in your physical activity. Eat well. And more important, and we kind of underestimate the value of sleep, get an adequate amount of sleep. What sleep does is it resets your clock for you, especially if you get an appropriate amount of sleep. It'll reset that clock for you. It'll re-energize and restart things for you. And so sleep is so vital to avoiding burnout. So I thank you all for your time. It has absolutely been a pleasure. In your organization folder, you can speak with your HR. You will have this presentation as well as some other resources that will help you in your journey of avoiding burnout. So I want to thank you all and have a wonderful, wonderful day.